I do think that places have memory. There's a part of Buenos Aires that's called Constitución. That place in 19th century was the ground zero for the yellow fever. And what happened is all the rich people moved to the north and left their servants, their slaves, they were still slaves, and they died there, and many people were not buried. And every part of Buenos Aires has been a disaster, been fashionable again, except that part. And when you go there, I don't know what it is, but that's the place of the rejected, and that's a place to go to die. History and the events of the past and the ghosts of the past have not left. Siguió entrando en la casa. Lo acompañé. Quería irme, pero no sola. La luz de la linterna iluminaba cosas sin sentido. Un libro de medicina de hojas brillantes abierto en el suelo, un espejo colgado cerca del techo. ¿Quién podía reflejarse ahí? Una pila de ropa blanca. Pablo se detuvo. Movía la linterna y la luz sencillamente no mostraba ninguna otra pared. Esa habitación no terminaba nunca, o sus límites estaban demasiado lejos para ser alcanzados por la luz de una linterna. Salgamos, volví a decirle, y recuerdo que pensé en irme sola, en dejarlo, en escapar. «Adela», gritó Pablo. No se le escuchaba en la oscuridad. ¿Dónde podía estar en esa habitación eterna? Acá. Era su voz, muy baja, cercana. Estaba detrás nuestro. Retrocedimos. Pablo iluminó el lugar de donde venía la voz y entonces la vimos. Adela no había salido de la habitación de los estantes. Nos saludó con la mano derecha, parada junto a una puerta. Después se dio vuelta, abrió la puerta que estaba a su lado y la cerró detrás suyo. Mi hermano corrió, pero cuando alcanzó la puerta ya no pudo abrirla. Estaba cerrada con llave. Sé lo que Pablo pensó. Buscar las herramientas que había dejado afuera, en la mochila, para abrir la puerta que se había llevado a Adela. Yo no quería rescatarla. Solamente quería salir y lo seguí, corriendo. Afuera llovía y las herramientas estaban desparramadas sobre el pasto seco del jardín. Mojadas, brillaban en la noche. Alguien las había sacado de la mochila. Cuando nos quedamos quietos un minuto, asustados, sorprendidos, alguien cerró la puerta desde adentro. La casa dejó de zumbar. No recuerdo bien cuánto tiempo pasó Pablo intentando abrir la puerta. I'm totally out of control with the characters. Most of the time I propose them a journey. It's like, okay, you're going to go from here to here, okay? And then we will negotiate the stations of the cross until the end. And many, many times they fight with me as if they are people. They really want to do what they want to do, and I have to let them do it. In Our Share of Night, it was the case of Rosario. Rosario is one of the rich young women of the order that has a child with the medium of the order, Juan. She's dead when the book begins, and I wanted her story to be told by other people. And it didn't work. And one day, I remember this vividly. It was like I was doing this, and I felt that she was telling me, let me talk. Why are you hiding me? What are you doing this? And I said, well, okay, let's do a first-person narrative that I didn't want to do. And let's say if you have a voice, because I didn't know what was her voice. And I wrote that chapter in 2 days. So not only I was not in control, but I was fighting with her for ages. It's always with the female characters that I struggle. The men are easier to manipulate, but the women, there's a short novel that is not published in English that's called This is the Sea. This girl has to she basically has to kill someone. And I wanted to kill him even if she was in love with him. She didn't want to. She ends up killing him. But she made me do a detour until she made that. That made the killing a lot better. She was right. I was like, come on, do it, finish it. And she was like, no, this is serious, okay? And it worked. It happens a lot. No, I'm not in control at all. And that, I think that's part of what I like about literature, that you're not in control. You are with inflammable materials. There's a lot of me in my work, but it's very distorted. Did I ever burn my body because I couldn't stand how they were looking at me or the idea they had about me? No. But did I ever feel I couldn't stand that anymore and I need something radical? Yes. I put a lot of my family history there. I put a lot of the ghosts of the dictatorship, going through trauma in a traumatized society. Everybody suffered, but there's different levels of suffering. And I work with mine. But the way I work with mine is not necessarily autobiographical at all. In fiction, I don't really like to be that mimetic. I need to get lost in other things. I need the metamorphosis. I love it. I love that the self can be disintegrated in a lot of million pieces. Y todos los días y casi todas las noches vuelvo esa noche de lluvia. Mis padres, los padres de Adela, la policía en el jardín, nosotros, empapados, con pilotos amarillos, los policías que salían de la casa diciendo que no con la cabeza, la madre de Adela desmayada bajo la lluvia. Nunca la encontraron, ni viva ni muerta. Estuvieron dentro de la casa durante horas, toda esa noche y hasta la madrugada. Adela no estaba. Nos pidieron la descripción del interior de la casa. Se la dimos. La repetimos. Mi madre me dio un cachetazo cuando hablé de los estantes y de la luz. La casa está llena de escombros, mentirosa, me gritó. La madre de Adela lloraba y pedía, por favor, ¿dónde está mi hija? En la casa, le dijimos. Abrió una habitación de la casa, entró y ahí debe estar todavía. Los policías decían que no quedaba una sola puerta dentro de la casa, ni nada que pudiera ser considerado una habitación. La casa era una cáscara, decían. Todas las paredes interiores habían sido demolidas. Recuerdo que lo escuché decir máscara, no cáscara. La casa es una máscara, escuché. Creían que mentíamos o que estábamos choqueados. No querían creer siquiera que habíamos entrado a la casa. Mi madre no nos creyó nunca. La policía rastrilló el barrio entero, allanó cada casa, incluso detuvieron a algunos vecinos por sospechosos, pero tuvieron que dejarlos libres muy pronto. Nada los relacionaba con un supuesto secuestro. Una noche, mi papá se despertó en medio de la noche, escuchó que alguien intentaba abrir la puerta. Se levantó de la cama agazapado, pensando que encontraría un ladrón. Encontró a Pablo, que luchaba con la llave en la cerradura. Esa cerradura siempre andaba mal. Llevaba herramientas y una linterna en la mochila. Los escuché gritar durante horas y recuerdo que mi hermano le pedía por favor que quería mudarse, que si no se mudaba se iba a volver loco. Nos mudamos. Mi hermano se volvió loco igual. Se suicidó a los 22 años. Yo reconocí el cuerpo destrozado. No tuve opción. Mis padres estaban de vacaciones en la costa cuando se arrojó frente al tren, bien lejos de nuestra casa, cerca de la estación de Bécar. No dejó una nota. Él siempre soñaba con Adela. En sus sueños, nuestra amiga no tenía uñas ni dientes, sangraba por la boca, sangraban sus manos. I think I started being fascinated by the basically all the Crowley systems in a very literary way. First by William Butler Yeats. I was reading a biography of Yeats, I remember, and I read that he was in the Golden Dawn. I was, what is this? So I started to read, and I started to read Crowley and Thelema, and then even John Dee and Alchemy, and I have a lot of these books. Like, I seriously have a lot of these books. But I didn't read that for the novel. I read that because I was fascinated by that. And then at one point it was so much that those things started appearing as characters. And when I started appearing as characters, I said, "Oh, okay, I have the novel here." And sometimes people tell me, especially in academic circles, like in Our Share of Night, the darkness is a metaphor of the dictatorship, and I'm like, no. The darkness is a god. It's an invoked god. It happens at the same time as the dictatorship, yes, because I wanted to put it in a very specific time and place that was common to my experience, to make it more believable and easier for me. You can read it as a metaphor, of course, because you can read it any other way, but it's never a symbol of anything. When in Our Share of Night, when Gaspar and Juan invoke a demon, they invoke a demon. They don't invoke a general. It's a demon, and it's a very specific demon that can only tell the truth. And even the sigil where they call him, it's real. It's a bit distorted because I didn't want people to try it. So if you want the sigil of that particular demon, it's in the Key of Solomon. You can look for it, and it's different, a bit different. To that point, it's not metaphor. Like, I believe that you can actually do something with that if you know what you're doing. So, even if I don't. Desde que Pablo se mató, yo vuelvo a la casa. Entro al jardín, que sigue quemado y amarillo. Miro por las ventanas abiertas como ojos negros. La policía derrumbó los ladrillos que las tapiaban hace 15 años y así quedaron, abiertas. Adentro, cuando el sol la ilumina, se ven vigas, el techo agujereado y basura. Los chicos del barrio saben lo que pasó ahí dentro. Los chicos creen nuestra versión. Adentro de la casa, en el piso, los chicos del barrio pintaron con aerosol el nombre de Adela. ¿Dónde está Adela?, dice una pintada. Otra, más pequeña, escrita en fibra, repite el modelo de una leyenda urbana. Hay que decir Adela 3 veces a la medianoche frente al espejo, con una vela en la mano, y entonces veremos reflejado lo que ella vio, quién se la llevó. Mi hermano, que también visitaba la casa, vio estas indicaciones e hizo este ritual una noche. No vio nada. Rompió el espejo del baño con sus puños y tuvimos que llevarlo al hospital. No me animó a entrar. Hay una pintada sobre la puerta que me mantiene afuera. Acá vive Adela, cuidado, dice. Imagino que la escribió un chico del barrio en chiste o en desafío para asustar. Pero yo sé que tiene razón, que esta es su casa. Y todavía no estoy preparada para visitarla. I think the point of horror fiction is very fundamental to the human condition, and that sounds very pretentious, but that's what it is. We need to fictionalize horror things, our dark side, in order to be normal social beings. And that's why the first stories, from Lazarus to fairy tales to mythologies of any culture, it's all about fear. Be careful of this. It's not just, a cathartic thing, though it is, but it's also a way of telling you where danger is and what are the limits of what you can do. You need to fictionalize that to understand it, because it feeds from experience, but it also precedes experience, because imagination precedes experience. So, and also it's a way of dealing with the inevitable end of your life, the not knowing what is going to go next, and to the horrific thing that happens to your body, not just immobile and with no soul or whatever you want to call it, but just smelling, full of bugs, forgotten. So that's something that you need to face that horror with fiction, because it's impossible to do it otherwise. It's impossible to do it in a rational way. I like to be part of a tradition, but legacy, I like, as I'm writing now, to be part of a tradition, and I like that it's a tradition that is not just a tradition in Spanish and not just a tradition in South American, and that it has a lot of influences that are equally important to me, and I like to be kind of in that river, but afterwards it's over.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
Hail Satan.
This is Cassie Workman is Witchy AF.
Hey, kids, welcome back to Art Show. I'm your host,
Captain Skinner.
It's 2 a.m.
Guys, please.
You know, they say that hair on a skull keeps growing long after your dreams have died.
Oh, you look good.
You recording? Some kind of sick, apocalyptic beauty pageant.
Are these stories of human madness?
I'm expecting some pushback on the internet.
You're gonna live, Viv. You're gonna live.
Look close.